Hola, hola,
Hola.
hola. Welcome everyone to another episode of Beyond the Screen. Let's get real, for real.
For real.
For real, for real.
Mm-hmm.
De veras. We're super excited today because we get to have Gloria Lucas from Nalgona Positivity Pride with us today. And, you know, we're going to get to check in with her about the amazing work that she's doing around body positivity and body dysmorphia and eating disorders and diet culture. So we're just really, really excited. For real. Yes, Arlene. For real, for real. And you know, so we're just excited to be able to work with folks who are engaging with the arts in different ways, right? Because oftentimes when we think about the arts, we think about the painter, you know, and rarely do we think and you know beyond the painter, like there are sculptors or there are there's performance art, but we often you know, dismiss how the arts are intersecting with other social movements. So we're just really excited to have Gloria here with us to share a little bit about how she's doing it. So, and she's here. We're so excited. Ah!
Hola,
Hola,
Hola.
Gloria.
¿cómo les vaya?
We're
En el valle.
good. Uh, yes, con mucho calor. It's crazy hot.
It's hot out there. Onda, se fueron a la playa, ¿verdad? Van a ver.
I'm like, oh, I wish there was a playa around here.
¿Cómo andan? ¿Qué me cuentan?
¿Qué contamos? Que estamos cansados, that we don't sleep. We're working a lot. Just work, unfortunately. What about you? ¿Qué cuentas?
Pues igual, estoy harta ya de estas cosas. I'm like so over it and I'm quarantining like alone, so
Oh,
ya tú sabes.
yes,
It's
yes,
just,
yes. I'm like,
but
oh,
I'm being like, staying creative, you know? Like, no nos queda otra.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's like, you know, we were just checking in with someone because nos estaba diciendo like why we're so busy right now that it's like quarantine, you know, and we're like, well, people cope in so many different ways, pero también like when you're community grassroots oriented, de veras, like when community is in crisis, it's when you're the busiest, you know, um,
Yeah.
and that's sometimes hard because it's just like, yeah, like right now, our LGBTQ drag queens are suffering, our artists of color are suffering. So there needs to be programming that supports the arts. So estamos en chinga.
That's what's up. I know. Sí, cierto. Sí, cierto. Like, there's no time to stop. There isn't. Siempre hay trabajo and like need and ahí nos apoyamos one with the other, like, you know.
Yeah, and that's important. That's so important.
And also just folks want to hear like words of encouragement or just other people. They just want to see other people, hear other people, folks that look like you and just engage. People want to engage right now, you know, and so we're doing this. And so
And you're doing
Well,
it.
I love it. I
Um,
love it. Thank you for doing this.
no, thank you for joining. And just to share a little bit about how we met, Gloria, we got to collaborate with you and shout out to Candy's Closet, shout out to Oco Madre Candles when y'all were doing like your Chicas Roadshow and y'all brought it to Vallejo and like
and there was a line around the block.
there's a fucking line around the block.
So good. But you know,
I remember. It was a day, all right. It was a day.
People fucking drove like 2 hours to come see y'all.
yes.
It was
I know. I felt like a celebrity.
I'm like, girl, you are a celebrity.
I felt like, oh shit, like, oh my god. And so did Marcela and Jeanette.
What was that?
¿Qué pasó?
No, I'm sorry. No te escuchamos the last part.
Oh no, that you know, Jeanette and Marcela from Oco Madre, like they were really happy and we were all like overwhelmed, like, oh my god, tanta gente, ay Dios mío.
Pues,
Thank you.
whenever y'all are ready, we're ready to have y'all back.
Yes.
Pues ya que se acabe todo esto. We want to go back. Like we were saying, like, oh, when is gonna be like our first stop after all of this? And we said the Bay Area. So hopefully we get to
There you
go to your space because I know you all got a new space, ¿verdad?
We did. Estamos colaborando with Cal Maritime. So, It's like 40 times the size of the old Comalito girl. It's like, it's huge. 5 showrooms, huge. So I'm like, bring 3 vans. Just
I might bring Mujeres Market.
yes, let's do it. Let's fucking do
The
it.
Mujeres Market. Yeah.
So,
Adios. But yeah.
you know, I was gonna ask you, since we're talking about being a celebrity or an artist, like, do you use the label artist for yourself, or what relationship do you have to that label?
So I feel like I'm setting myself up if I say artist. For me, I say I'm more like a visionary person, a creative person, because I was not gifted with the skill of drawing and painting and doing a lot with my hands. I'm more here and like, so I collaborate all my t-shirt designs, except my flyers and my own stuff that I post on Instagram. Pero everything else, like my designs, I collaborate with other queer and women of color artists,
Yeah.
and we go back and forth until it is what I want it to be. But I wouldn't say an artist. I'm more like a visionary person.
Definitely. And thank you for sharing that. But like your presence in your social media and everything you do is like in tandem with artists, with the arts. Like, when did that start happening for you? Or like, did you grow up around creatives? Like, because your work is so tied to the arts. When did you start learning about the importance of the arts and social movements? And even in the work that you're doing with Nalgona Positivity Pride?
Yeah, so I think, being daughter of immigrants, the way we are exposed to the arts and creatives is different than the bougie way, like the very like white way, because, and even though at that time I didn't acknowledge it, but now that I'm older, I'm like, oh yeah, like my mom, thinking about her, like she can do it all. Like she gardens, she knits, she sews, she cooks, she she's a Jehovah's Witness, and then she created like this plastic sleeve for the watchtower, and then she became known for it, and like, she pickles peaches and she does all of this
Oh
stuff,
my God.
and she could do it all, and it's like my mom's a creative, and as a child she wanted to be an artist, like she liked to draw, but she just kind of let that all go. But I feel that creativity comes out in these other ways, like she does it all. And like my sister's a very talented artist. Like my brothers have, like one of them is a musician, the other one was in a punk band, so I guess also musician, but he did vocals, so I don't know what that, but so I did grow up with resilient, creative people.
That's powerful. That's beautiful.
I mean, that's where the best art comes from, right? Like, out of resistance, out of resilience. Like, I mean, all the work that you do is because there is a need for the kind of work that you do, for representation to be seen. And maybe that's what we're talking about, the intersection of art and movements, right? Like, especially when it comes to brown folks, QPOC plus folks, like there is no representation for us. And so like we wedge ourselves in to make that visibility happen.
And sometimes not even wedge, like you have to fucking create those spaces. And I know that in conversations that we've had with you, Gloria, you talk about your experience and how your experience has informed Nalgona Positivity Pride and the work that you do. Because like us, we were like, Comalito Creative came about because there was no resources for communities of color or for artists of color specifically in our comunidad. So we're like, fuck this. Well, if there's no resources, then we know that they're not going to get created for us. Like we have to step up and do it, because it's not in the interest of the elite artist or the white artist or Eurocentricity to like create space for folks of color. Like that's just not the history. So you kind of have to like create those spaces, which is how Comalito was born. And I know that there's a very like that the narrative is parallel to Nalgona Positivity Pride, because you identify as as a survivor of an eating disorder and body dysmorphia, and that when you were searching for resources that you couldn't find them, so you decided to create Nalgona Positivity Pride. Like can you share a little bit about like who influenced you or what influenced you, or like when did that moment happen when you're like, fuck this, I'm gonna do this myself?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Riverside, which is the Inland Empire, and I I was exposed to like a DIY punk community, and this taught me a lot about grassroots feminist organizing and and gave me the room in my life to allow myself to start and do whatever it is that I wanted without asking for permission, right? Because I feel like we're always taught that there's a particular way of attaining or having a career or being a creative or an artist, right? It's like you have to go to school and you have to do this, and but like DIY punk culture, which essentially is what communities of color have been doing, you know.
Let's
But
watch it.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah. So this really allowed me to kind of just not be so scared and just like, okay, I'll do it, whatever, and I'll learn along the way. And so having, you know, been a feminist organizer and also, you know, involved with music at that time, like organizing events and feminist festivals and collectives and all of that stuff, I knew there was a need to talk about eating disorders in my community and other communities of color, because I never saw stories of, or heard of other people's stories like myself with food. And I knew I was not the only one. And so for me, I felt like it was something I had to do. And as much as it helped others, but it's also what helps me, you know, because till this day, I don't necessarily have access to the treatment that maybe I need. You know, it's still not accessible. There's still a lot of work that needs to get done, but ultimately Nalgona was out of a desperate need to at least share our stories, because I believe in the power of representation, the power of storytelling, and I feel like representation allows us to acknowledge when there are problems, because for so long I didn't see anybody like myself. So I felt that what I had was at some points not an eating disorder and at other times normal. And so I had to do this work.
That's beautiful and that's powerful. Thank you for sharing that. I do have a question for you, just because, I mean, you know, social media is so interesting in the sense that like it gives people like this like a mirage almost, or this like fake, I don't want to say fake, but it gives folks a perception of whatever they want to project. And like for us, like it, you know, folks share with us that they feel like, or that on social media they like Comalitos, like this whole ass organization with like a staff of 10, and I'm just like, it's just us two and it's 100% volunteer. You know?
Yeah.
It's like we wake up at 5 in the morning,
right? And it's just like everything 100% volunteer. We don't get paid. We don't have a staff. Like it's grassroots 100. And you know, because your social media presence is so huge, like, and you're like always doing this workshop, doing that workshop, having cups of coffee with folks, facilitating or running like support groups, like, and there's two of us, and it's like, you like, are you a robot? Like, catching girls?
No, it's called being a Gemini. And we're in Gemini season right now. But Edgar, you are like 5 people in one, okay? Oh. And I bet you're more the balance, the reason, the cool, you know? So you two like are perfect for one another. And you two, yes, can run this, like for sure. Because I said balancean, you know? Oh. But I hear you. Like, I don't even know how the fuck I do it. I don't understand. I'm like, it takes an unstable person like myself to do this. It really does.
Well, congratulations, Queen. I'm just what the hell? Like, sometimes I want to just like pull my hair out or go scream, and then I look at your profile and I'm just like, okay, Gloria is doing this. I need to be okay with this. But women are like badasses anyway, so why are you laughing?
But let me clarify, Kate. like within the last year, I have been getting more help because I have to. And so I do have somebody doing my Etsy orders. I do have somebody running the support group now.
Great.
But that's and Mujeres Market. I have somebody who helps me with Mujeres Market. But that's it.
No, but
and everybody that supports también, you know?
Even with 3 people, like you, like again, it seems like you're like a whole ass organization that requires a staff of 10 full time, you know? So
Edgar, I'm giving you anxiety just thinking about it. I see it.
Like, it's okay.
Un tecito de manzanilla.
Exactly. I need to, because sometimes I'm just like, okay, what's the next event? What's the next thing that's going on? My to-do list. Oh, anyway, no, but anyway, the purpose of the comment was just like, girl, you're killing it. You're rocking it. Good for you. Send tips and tricks our way. We'll pay you for the knowledge.
Oh my God.
Or send us a robot or something. Yeah, anyway. But to transition from you being a total badass, like what do you do when you're not doing a million things? Like what do you like? Do you like roller coasters? Like what show are you watching?
No. Eso sí me meo allí. No. What do I do? Pues ya con la quarantine, pues no hay nada que hacer más que trabajar. You know,
That's true.
But it's really been a challenge for me to find myself and what I like outside of my work.
Yeah.
Because for like in building this, I really have had to sacrifice and sometimes even relationships, you know, and it's come at a price. And I know y'all can probably relate, you know, so it's taken me some time to kind of separate myself from this whole big old nalgas that I've, you know, created. Que, you know, it just takes a lot. And so I'm still in that journey of figuring out what does Gloria like outside of work, you know?
Or is there a difference between work and Gloria, right? Like those lines.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So what I like to do is I like to watch trash TV.
Yeah.
That's one of them. Yes. I like to I also started last year. I started for the first time ever in my life running, you know, and I don't run long distances. Todavía no puedo because las nalgotas, you know, it's a lot. Pero I'm just like, pero like running and walking in a way that is peaceful for me. And I'm still doing that right now, obviously with the mask and everything. And what else do I do? Like I really this year is like focusing on my friendships with my homegirls. They've always had my back. Always. And giving back to them instead of, you know, like it has to be balanced out and being there for them and being, you know, my family, like all the other brown families, you know, pero like being intentional with them and spending, you know, time with them because life is short. So I'm thinking, you know, besides all of this work, like what is fulfilling me in tangible ways, and how can I be a human, you know?
Thank you for sharing that, Gloria. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I can relate. I mean, I'm sure you can relate too. I'll speak in I statements. I can relate so much, especially like, you know, when we first opened, like we were, I mean, yo soy bien like, vamos a party, blah, blah. And then like your friendships go from like here to like here to like here to like you have your quality 2 friends, you know? And that's real. That's real because it's like, you know, but even with familia, like my familia doesn't understand sometimes like why this is so important, or why running organization where we're not making money is important for the community, like where I need to look out for my future, especially coming from immigrant parents, right? Where like they literally picked up and left so that we could have a better life. They don't understand why we're choosing to not take on that better life by running a nonprofit, you know.
Or why art?
Or why art, yeah, or why art
Specifically.
specifically.
Yeah.
So, and that's real. So I appreciate, you know, hearing kind of that there are a lot of sacrifices that are made that people don't see or sometimes don't appreciate. And it's so important, you know, to share that. So I just want to say thank you for that.
It's chinga. Like, we make it look so sexy and easy, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. A lot.
Yes,
It is.
But it's necessary work. It's definitely necessary work. It's like, I always talk about how, as an older person, like thinking about the younger version of myself and growing up, if I was there for myself as a little kid, and just that image in itself, the importance of being there, right, representing and being visible and offering help or offering your knowledge to the younger generation, the importance of like transferring that information, right? Like, what does it mean to know what happened in history, how colonization has affected the way that we look at ourselves? Like, those are very important questions that I feel like just people just go about their day not knowing where these things come from, you know, and it's real. And we're here for the healing component of moving our community forward.
Right.
So that's why I appreciate your work so much, right? Like, there's just a need for the work that you do, and we're just so grateful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's life-saving, life-changing,
Absolutely.
life-saving work that you're doing. So, you know, and it's, anyway, yeah, it's beautiful. I did want to ask you a question, Gloria, specific to the arts and your job. Like, how important is it for you to like the merchandise component of your work, right? These powerful images that you're collaborating with artists on, the camisas, the magnets, the all of that. Like, how important is the merch component, the art component, in order for you to continue to do the in-person component, right? The educational component. Because, you know, again, like, we do these shirt fundraisers yearly, and that allows us to provide programming for a little bit longer that's free. I'm assuming that works very similar for you, right? That you're able to make some money from the merch in order for you to do the workshops, the support groups, the educational component. Like, can you talk a little bit about kind of those intersections of the art and the work? I mean, I don't know that they're separate, but how they overlap.
Yeah, like, they're definitely overlap all the time. I feel that for me, the education component is a little bit more the dense work. You know, it's a lot of emotional labor.
Yeah.
And very needed. But I feel like with my merch, especially more as of lately, because I've had finally the chance to sit down and let all these things that I've had here, finally I have the time to do these new designs. And so for me, my merch has been the more my creative outlet of what I'm envisioning, and also the connection that it brings. Like, just like this morning, I released Las Jilguerías, a design of them holding guns with one of their lyrics, and just seeing how people are commenting, like, oh, that's my grandparents' music, or that's my mom's favorite design, or just like this connection that we all make. You know, I think a lot of us grew up ashamed being brown, being Mexican, being Central American, being, you know, whatever it might be, or being indigenous, right? And didn't necessarily appreciate the music that our parents listened to, right? And now it's like, oh, now it's cool, ¿verdad? Pero for me, Las Jilguerías, like, I remember as a kid, I didn't like them. Like, I was like, oh my God, I'm empachado. And one time they were just playing them all morning long, and I'm like, yeah. Pero then I got older and I really listened. I made this meme. I said, the older I get, the more I understand rancheras. Like, I get it now. It's like, now I understand, like, that Britney Spears meltdown where she cut her hair. I'm like, yes, now I understand. Yes. But anyway, so just seeing, like, through my merch, how I'm able to kind of uncover like our experiences and
Mhm.
just that like you know, like we all connect, and it just brings like our own stories. And so, but yes, they're both equally important because a lot of the merch has messaging that I cover in my education, and a lot of these shirts are educational.
Yeah.
And it's like they're walking around with my what was once an idea and now it's on a shirt. And then people are wearing it and then they tag me on Instagram and it's like whoa. So it's a very exciting process.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful to see. And I think that one of the things that I appreciate about your organization, like aside from the just beautiful, brilliant work, is that your page is dedicated to so much more than just the body positivity aspect of the work. Like you challenge the status quo left and right, you know, and you advocate for our like marginalized communities, like queer folks, like you challenge religion, you challenge white supremacist structures from all aspects, and like I just super appreciate that, and your merch just reinforces it, and it's so empowering and it's so beautiful to see, which I think is like so powerful, right? And yeah, and just even hearing today that you come from a Jehovah's Witness background, and you know, and I can only imagine like the work that's had to be done in order for you to like be able to sit here and be like challenge these status quos. And it's interesting because, you know, just again um sharing a little bit about our experience, where folks are like, oh, Comalito, they have badass art, so then they hit the follow button, and then we challenge religion, and all of a sudden you get all of these unfollows because it's so segmented, right? Like, I like this part of Comalito, but I don't like this part of Comalito, and then you start to be like torn apart, and it's like, how do you keep it together? And the way that we do it is just by being unapologetic about it and be like, you don't get to segment us. You either like what we do in its totality or you don't, and that's okay. And we've had to like really learn to be unapologetic that way. But it's super empowering to see you, because sometimes we see you in the comments, or we see you just and we're like, that's how it's done. You're like, that's nice, bye.
Like the follow button is right there. Right there. I know, pero a veces sí me sacan de mis cazuelas, like my mom says. Like, you know, like there's days that I'm PMSing, you know, and I feel it's like siempre quieren this bubbly person, pero that's not all of me, you know. Like I also got my rough edges también, and like I don't understand how, like I feel like I don't owe too much explanations on social media.
Nope.
For people who, I don't know, I just say it as I want to say it, and sometimes by the end of the day, or I'm like, I can't give more of myself, and it's nice when other people go in there and I'm like, yes, thank you. I just didn't have it.
Yes.
And palomitas, the Capri Sun, y todo eso, you know, just be like. Pero sí, like I've lost so many followers. Like I don't know how ridiculous amount. Whenever I post a picture of a fat black woman that's not the conventional hourglass, like I lose followers, right? So I'm always like trying to talk about anti-blackness within the brown community, right? It's like, and or yeah, like once I posted a queer art by this artist from Albuquerque. I'm so sorry, their name is slipping my mind right now, pero it was a queer woman receiving oral sex, and they were like the Virgin Mary, but yeah, and then I didn't understand why people were getting their panties all bunched up, you know, porque it's art, and like I don't know. I'm just like, after all the Catholic Church has done.
You're going to get mad at this image? Please.
I was like, bye. And I'm like, I'm not deleting it. Or this other video that I posted of these anarchist white men who went to the store and were stealing food and using that food to feed homeless people
Right.
and people during this time, right? And people's first reaction is how that's immoral, that's wrong. And I'm like, what's really wrong is that there's homeless people out in the streets,
Right.
especially now.
Right.
But the first thing you're gonna worry about is food stolen from a corporation. Like,
Yeah.
for me, it's like feeding everybody by whatever it takes. That's what I believe, you
Yeah.
know. And so things like that. I'm just like,
Right.
I can't.
Right. Or that people will take the time to go do, an essay response to your whatever the fuck. And they can't Google that, like, the Catholic Church is the richest organization and can end world hunger tomorrow, and they choose not to. So, like, really, like, you're really going to sit here and try and, anyway. But I just, I see Cristal Galindo. Hola, Cristal Galindo, saying, Adelina Cruz.
Adelina Cruz. Thank
yeah.
you. Yes, shout out to Adelina. Check out their Instagram. But yes.
Yeah. So.
Ay, no,
Yes, but I just wanted to say thank you because I think that, as someone who struggles with, like, being well liked or, like, wanting to, like, especially now that we're like an organization that's known in the community, like, I at first I was really struggling with, like, oh, I can't be rude, or I can't be this, or I can't be dismissive, or, like, how to navigate those spaces. And then I saw folks who were just unapologetic, you being one of those folks, and I'm just kind of like, fuck that. Like, so I just want to say, I mean, thank you for that, because it's like people will try and tear you apart, right, and compartmentalize the things that they like or don't like, and I just appreciate you so much for that.
And you'll be surprised because when we were still doing Mujeres Market, a woman came up to me and was like, I'm this person, this Instagram handle. And I'm like, but they were like, we've argued before on Instagram and a few times. And I just want to say thank you, because even though we disagree on a lot, but your page has really allowed me to heal my relationship with myself and food. And so that was very beautiful. I was like, oh, damn, like, that's powerful. And it's great to see when people decide to still stick around. And if not, I'm sure a lot of my people that I've gotten mad come back sometimes.
Yeah.
And they're not there yet. And hopefully they evolve and change and they're more open and they've let that marinate a little bit more. Yeah, they open up. And me too, because I'm sometimes posting that I hurt people and I'm like, oh shit, la cagué, like, let me... I'm learning too, and so it's beautiful when we can hold space for one another like that and still be able to disagree at times, sin balazos ahí en el Instagram.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Well, as we're getting ready to wrap up the interview, Gloria, or the conversation, the chismeando, the comadreando, the whatever you want to call it.
All of it.
This was so much fun, by the way. Thank you.
It is.
Like, what are, like, for folks who, and I struggle también. I have daddy issues for folks who've been watching these. I also have issues with the label ally. I just have issues, I think.
Oh my God, I'm there with you.
But, like, what for folks who do follow your work, who are working on body positivity themselves, or know someone who may be surviving or trying to survive and navigate eating disorders, like, what are one or two things that folks can do to support
Their own healing.
their own healing? Wow, beautiful.
This is something that I've been covering more within this last year, is the aspect of what Gloria and Saldúa also has covered, ¿verdad? The duality of being a hot mess and yet still being sacred is something that I've been really drawn to and uncovering more within my work. I feel like Western linear thinking has us believing that you're before, after. or I'm on the greener side of things. Like ya la hice. And I don't feel healing really happens that way. I feel that healing is doing a bunch of little things, and before you know it, you have a moment and you're like, oh damn. Like a year ago, 5 years ago, or as a kid, I wouldn't have thought that way. Like, for me, one of those healing moments was I was driving, and I was able to move to Santana, fortunate enough, and I'd be surrounded by more brown people, and because I lived in Irvine for a year, which was something else. But
Yeah, I'm not sure this experience at another time, girl. I grew up in Napa.
Oh, I know it happens, and I mean, there's privilege there too, without obviously. But I was driving this day, and I was just thinking, like, damn, I'm so proud that I belong and I'm part of this, like, that I'm Mexican. Like, I wouldn't have it any other way. Like, we have one of the most giving, hardworking, funny community, and as a kid, I don't know if I could say that, because there was some shame. Yeah. But now it's like, damn, like, how much, and it's not like, oh, I'm doing this to get to there. It just happens slowly as you cover it, like you surround yourself by these messages, and it's very, and also being willing to do some painful work with it. So I would just say embrace that, the belief that, again, you could live in two worlds simultaneously, and you can do harm reduction if you're struggling with a risky behavior, and I think too, like, being careful of what you allow in your life in regards to, like, for instance, social media. Like, who do you follow? Like, are these people that care about you, that care about marginalized communities, that build you up? They are also challenging you, or is it just people that don't look like you and don't show diversity that make you hate yourself more? And so, yeah, stuff like that, it has been really helpful for myself.
Thank you. Yeah, so much just in that. And I'm just like, you have me thinking about growth and how growth, how growth is not linear. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Especially that.
Yeah, that growth is not linear. And that we all grow and learn differently. So thank you so much. Gloria, I think that your camera may have, okay. Oh, there we go. We had some technical issues with Gloria's camera, so she is gone. But we just wanted to. That was the wrap of our interview, también. So we just wanted to share with you all. Thank you so much for joining us for these Beyond the Screens series. We have Jonathan Lum, who is Native Hawaiian musician, queer, who's going to be sharing his experience on Thursday. So hopefully y'all can join us on Thursday. And then we'll continue these next week. We'll have another Gloria next week as well, who's going to be talking about ancestral knowledge through hair. Shout out to Cristal Galindo. I see that she's on here. If you haven't checked out Cristal Galindo's episode, it's on YouTube as well as on our social media. Amazing. And if folks, if you're an artist or if you know of an artist that you think would be really great with sharing their journey on the series, send us a message and let us know who they are, and we can reach out to them. And yeah, have a safe and beautiful rest of your 3-day weekend, if you have a 3-day weekend, if not a longer weekend, and if not a shorter weekend. Oh, hold on, Gloria's back, so let me see if we can just oops.
Es que mi internet está bien chafas. It always goes off, but I'm back.
Okay,
I'm back.
I'm like, no pagaste el bill, ¿verdad?
No lo he pagado todavía.
we were just sharing with everyone that you're just amazing, and thank you for being with us here today. And you know, it's like we know with these Beyond the Green series, so far all of the folks who've been participating with us, we've known or have gotten the opportunity and the privilege of meeting in person, but we don't know them outside of like a working relationship. So it's always just so interesting to be like, okay, like what is this chismear gonna look like?
Yeah, it's cool. It's really neat.
We're like, a ver qué nos dice.
I know. Yeah, so needed, the community building, because yeah, sometimes it's like transactional relationships, and something that I've really been thinking about this is like, I could give you this, you give me that. Yeah, and it's like, how do I change that? And that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah, transactional relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like the white man's way of doing things, you know? And I'm like, fuck, I'm like over here like repurposing it. Like, and I'm like, no, how do I change that? And I think you all doing this is very beautiful.
Thank you. We're trying, you know, and también a veces nos estamos like, just to be very transparent and honest, like también a veces we look at each other and we're like what does this even look like? Are folks even gonna tune in? And a veces nos yeah, it's always like the second guessing that happens, you know, with the work. And then the really beautiful thing about that though is that when we do get the courage to like follow through with it and like to make it happen, that folks tune in, and it's just so beautiful, and that folks are excited about it. And I guess that's like the payoff, right? When you're like, pues que
Yeah.
lo hacemos, and then nadie tunes in. And that's
No, they will. They do.
Yes.
Yeah, they do. So anyways, well, thank you, Gloria, for being here with us today. Thank you just for being a badass and just so nice and so fucking funny.
Oh my God, likewise. I had fun. This made my, well, ¿qué era eso? This made my early afternoon, my brunch.
Yay. Now you can go and have a cocktail if you drink, or if not, agüita.
¿Verdad? Una michelada ahorita. I get it.
Virtual michelada hour.
So I make the best michelada, and when you come visit, I'm gonna make you michelada. Watch.
Yes, please, and thank you.
Yes.
I need that. I need it. Tanto remedio.
Yes. All right, pues Gloria, entonces no te quitamos más tu tiempo. It was such a beautiful, beautiful afternoon. Thank you so much, and
Thank
hasta
you.
la próxima.
See y'all next time.
See you next time. Cuídense. Wear la mascarilla.
Alrighty, everyone. Thank you so much, también, for being with us. If you have any artists you would like to recommend for the series that you think that has something to contribute to the format of the series, please send them our way. Thank you all for being here. Y'all are beautiful. Y'all are amazing. Y hasta la próxima. Have a beautiful and safe rest of your day.
Yes. Bye.